Let's start there, Vihaan. Firstly, it's lovely to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Tell us a little bit about your gigantic bookshelf. I'm assuming you've read all the books on there.
Yes,
What
I
is
have. That's not even all of my, I mean, I don't mean to be like, that's not even all my books, but there is also like only half of a collection. There's a lot of my mom's books and my dad's books and obviously my own. I would say most of these are mine. And then we have like other cupboards with other books. And I just felt so bad just keeping books like lying in a closet somewhere, one on top of the other, gathering dust. I thought, how aesthetic would it be if we had a bookshelf and I could look at everything I've read, so even if I don't remember the books, I can remember that I've read them and feel like I'm a knowledgeable person.
so? I'm going to ask you what your last memorable book was, and then we'll go into asking you about your projects.
Last memorable
The
book,
last book that
the
changed
one I'm
you.
reading right now is this book. It's a bit morbid, but I just was drawn to understanding death a bit better. I can't say I understand all of what Sadhguru says, but I want to expose myself to different points of view. It's not my favorite book so far, but it is an interesting read. So that's what I'm doing right now. And after that we have other books
Of
in
course, that have shaped you over the years. So tell us, let's get into the projects for a little while. Let's ask you a little bit about everything you've just done recently, and then we'll
Sure.
ask you more about yourself. So tell us first, with both CTRL, with Control, and with Call Me Babe, both of those sort of massive projects that we've seen come out in the recent past. First, tell us a little bit about both of the characters you played. Which parts of that were easy for you because you resonated? Because they're both very different characters. In fact, there
Yeah.
is the similarity that they both are semi-villains, or at least in one case, seems like a villain, ends up to not be a villain. What parts of
Yeah.
those characters were easy to do because you were resonating with them very easily?
So for Call Me By, interestingly, I had been playing characters that were a bit more uh, kind and a bit more empathetic and a bit more sensitive. I did Mismatch where the guy's a green flag and he's kind and lovely and fantastic.
Yeah,
And
one interview called him a walking green flag, I read,
yeah, yeah,
which
yeah. Green Forest is what people like to say. So I will take that. And then I had Eternally Confused, where I played a anxiety-ridden young man, but also he was sensitive and empathetic enough to think about other people's emotions, right? And how the way he's behaving. With Call Me Maybe, we had a person who had some sort of an ego and would kind of dominate a room
hmm.
and would not necessarily consider other people's opinions of him or the other people's emotions over his own. That I thought would be difficult for me to do because I said, I don't know if I operate like that person. But it was so interesting because it was so freeing because I had this part of myself that could be loud and aggressive and could put people down. I just didn't express it. I don't choose to be that way in real life, but everyone has that part of themselves in their life. I think that's what I brought out, and that I thought would be difficult, but it was actually quite easy to bring out. And I quite enjoyed like disrespecting people sometimes
Hmm.
in certain situations. Not, super rudely, but what you see in the show sometimes, And I quite enjoyed the anger that he had sometimes because it came from pain. And it's this masculine thing where if you are hurt, then you lash out and you raise your voice and you say all those things and avoid the important topics.
Right.
So that actually was quite fun and easy for me to do, which I thought would be difficult. For control, I think what was difficult was just being in this influencer zone without making it seem too corny because every times you can always be like, hey, I'm an influencer, but also like, what is it really like, between camera on and off, right? And what is it like to find that tone? And of course, the monologue was just like one of the most challenging things I've had to do that Vikramaditya Motwane he gave me this gift, which was a challenge of a lifetime. So that was very difficult. And I'm so glad I worked so hard at it and I worked through it and did it multiple times. Um, and what came easy was actually just acting with Ananya. I feel like she was just very super chill throughout the whole thing. And Vikram was fantastic and it felt so organic and effortless. Sometimes I was like, am I actually making a Vikram Motwane film or what am I like? Am I just making a reel or what's going on?
Can I ask, our producer Asha in her research found that Ananya and you actually went to school together.
Yes.
What is it like making a film with someone who you've seen in all of those stages?
It's so crazy because you can never predict the future. I don't think if I was so I was 2 years older than Ananya. She was 2 years younger. And I think obviously in school the classes are so, the hierarchy or whatever is that you don't necessarily talk to people two classes above and below, right? So we didn't have that much FaceTime, but we saw each other around in school or whatever. But I don't think in my wildest dreams I would ever have looked at him and been like, hey, we're gonna do two projects together in life. I don't think that ever occurred to me even remotely. So it's just crazy how life turns out. I'm really, really happy for her. I think she's just
Do you or her, do either of you have a mental image of the other person even in school? Like, have you talked about that?
Yeah, but honestly, all I remember was that she was just like a really sweet girl, just hanging out and doing her own thing. Like like she was just really like kind. I didn't have any opinion of her because I never actually really spoke to her. But I remember she was around and she was just I remember just her smiling and walking around and smiling, and that's it. That's the simplest memory I have of her. I do know that we were in different houses. So I was in Panthers and she was in Tigers. So we had competition. Um,
Were the house colors associated with the house names?
yeah, Panthers were blue,
Yeah, there
Tigers
always
were
are.
green, Lions were yellow, Jaguars were red. Um, yeah.
Can we ask you, you grew up, as we've sort of already told our audiences, in Mumbai around the film world. When you hadn't entered the film world, was there a conception of it that you had that, now that you've entered it, you could almost turn around and tell, like, baby Vihaan, that, like, I was wrong. This one thing is actually really different.
Yeah. I think um, I think I didn't expect how much, how many other things there are with acting that actually influence acting that you should know or that you should work on or that might be important. Like the way you, for example, how you are, because I just dubbed for something today, how you're in the dubbing booth and how that changes your performance, or how you are when it comes to picking the right scripts, or how you are with, the way your fitness or whatever it is. I think I tended to only be like, if I can do a scene well, that's it. But there's so many other things and so many other facets to this industry that we are working in.
What's one of those pillars that you're working on right now that you can say, okay, this isn't the best, I'm not the strongest at it, but it's the pillar I want to strengthen?
Um, I would say, I think maybe putting myself out there in terms of a public figure and building a brand, I think I would say, and building social media. I think I'm trying to figure out how to get to that ultimate level.
So I want to ask you, so much of control deals with this. So this is actually a really beautiful, like, sort of point at which to go back to that. Because I want to ask you, for any public figure, there's sort of a meta relationship you share with your social media, right? There's a part of you that obviously wants to retain, yourself, and this other part that needs to build a brand, the brand of Vihaan, whatever that is, whatever it is that you think it stands for. And your feed, if one goes through it, there's lots of art. If you really go through it, there's like art installations, there's art pieces.
Yeah.
I want to ask for you, was that a conscious thing that now you're like, okay, I need to build who it is that Vihaan is, and I need to
Yeah.
stray from that?
Yeah, so I'm glad you asked about that because nobody really does, and I don't know how to really bring it up in a conversation. But I go through phases where initially I started posting on Insta. So when I started Instagram, I was posting like literally just snapshots from my life, like so a picture of a lake, a picture of a river, a picture of my room, whatever. I never really used to post myself because I just didn't feel like it, and I don't know. I can hyper analyze that, but I just didn't feel like it. I felt like posting moments from my life because Instagram was meant to be a photo, thing, and it's obviously evolved. And then I did Mismatch, and Mismatch came out. So I started posting more of myself. I was like, okay,
Mm.
like I need to, people want to see what I do and how I look like in a jacket. And then I got to a point where I said, there is so much more to express and to show and to share that is inside my mind than just how I look. And that's what I tried to do with my art stuff. So I was just huge discussions with my management as well, where it's like, okay, we let you post your art. You are not an art account. Make a different one, but for this, post yourself. So I was like, I'm not going to make a different art account. I want everyone who follows me to see this, right? And so what we got this settlement where I would post one picture of myself and then a picture of art, and then one picture of myself. So we had this 50-50 trade-off. And then the feed looked like this cool diagonal structure where everything was like aligned. And it really looked cool, and I was really happy. Okay. But then my engagement started dropping because people were like, who is this man? And why am I getting pictures of paintings on my feed on a Monday afternoon? And some people loved it, and some people obviously were indifferent to it. So then for business reasons, I thought I might have to pivot to showing more of what generally people, a lot of people like to see, which is me, and me in different situations and organically in a room or something. So I'm still straddling the lines of expressing all the random stuff that I want to express, plus have a balance of me, plus have a balance of brands and not fill my feed with like marketing content. So it is a balance. I wish I could be as big as John Cena and post
Just whatever
absolutely
you wanted, like
whatever, like
memes.
literally anything that like literally no context, a picture of Virat Kohli, and
Yeah,
just
he has a great feed. He has a really, really great
he's
feed.
very strange, but he can afford to do that because everyone knows who John Cena is. Nobody questions what he's going through, and you know that John Cena can just do what he wants.
But
Also,
I
there's
want to
no
ask you, Vihan, this is such a tricky question, right? Because you're in that stage where you are getting to shape how you're looked at by the world, right? And you do see many, sort of growing faces not give up on that piece and sort of be obstinate with it, and then slowly find people recognizing them as, in your case, like that Netflix actor who has great taste in art. So, how do you balance that? And I'm asking you this because even when we were reading about you, chocolate boy, that's the word that's the phrasing that comes up about you again and again. How much of that do you like? Are you conscious about the way in which tabloids, etc., are perceiving you?
Yeah, I definitely am conscious about it. I think I do get any news about me and so on and so forth. So I'm actually not. I'm actually quite happy with Chocolate Boy. There's a lot of things that could be said about me that aren't as great as Chocolate Boy, and I think it's a nice tag to have. I think it's a tag that gets thrown around often. I think they like they call all boys chocolate boys, at least at the beginning.
Fair.
But no, I'll take it with gratitude. It's I think in a way it's also you'd rather be spoken and written about than not be spoken and written about. So I'll take it. Of course, there is a long journey, and I will be nearing 30 in a couple of years. So I don't know how long we can sustain this chocolate boy, but I suppose it means that I will have a long career because if I still look like a teen when I'm 30, and when I'm 50, I'm ready to be a young adult.
Can I ask you? This is another thing we noticed while we were reading up about you in both films. In one, you're cheating on Ananya, and the other, she's cheating on you. Is
Yes.
is that a thing you guys sort of took note of, and B, when you're acting out scenes with pain in them, like actual pain, is there
Yeah.
any channeling that's going on?
Yeah, so that's something we spoke about a lot. Like we would joke about it a lot. Um, so everyone was like, "Oh, revenge, huh? What are you doing right now?" So Ananya and I would be on set, and then when we would shoot those scenes, we'd be like, "Excuse me, you terrible human being," and then we'd be like, "But you did the same thing." So it was like that Spider-Man meme where we're both like just
Yeah,
pointing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. This
And
one.
we're just like,
Yeah, the triangle.
and then like Ananya would be like, and she'd go to the director and be like, "Very bad, huh? This one's cheating." And I'd be like, "Excuse me, we were married, okay? Here we're just dating." So it was that it was definitely a running joke. We didn't plan it that way. It didn't
Of course.
turn out that way. And I think initially in Control, the initial conversations before the script was even locked was um, maybe instead of the cheating thing, maybe Joe is Nella is proposing to Joe or live, and then he kind of
Says no.
says no, and then
Hmm.
that causes a rift in the relationship. But then then we were like, maybe we need something different. So it didn't. it didn't plan out to be that way, but ended up being that way. And I think it's quite funny. And I think people comment also on posts of Call Me Beyond Control saying like, ये क्या one पे one free चल रहा है क्या cheating का or whatever. Um, but yeah, that's really funny. What was your second part of the
No, I
question?
want to ask you. This kind of
Channeling.
relates, but sorry, go ahead.
You
Then
said
just
channeling.
answer. Yeah.
Channeling. Yes, I think with any uh, piece, an emotional part of acting depends on your approach to things. Some people just try to imagine the given circumstances. Sometimes I channel my own life experiences, not cheating related necessarily, but something that gives me the same emotion that can help me sit in that emotion a bit more organically, and then I can come into the scene and see what's
Are
going
you
on.
comfortable telling us? And I say comfortable because this is a bit of an emotional question. But can you walk us through a scene in one of the two most recent projects and walk us through the emotions you were channeling? Maybe tell us the thing that happened and how you channeled it.
Well, I mean, see, I think for Colony Bay, I'm uncovering something happening in front of me, so it's easier to explain. So I would be like, obviously, I mean, see, either there's some people who just say, मुझे पता नहीं मैं बस करता हूँ. There's some people who say like, okay, this is how I plan everything. I'm somewhere in between where I say like, if it's not coming like that, then let's find a way to work through it. So obviously you have to be relaxed at the start of the scene. You cannot anticipate anything and you have to just pretend it's a normal day, right? So for that, you cannot be thinking about what's coming later, which means that what's coming later has to just leave an impact on you, right? So we just had a scene when I was walking into the gym and everything was normal. And I was focusing on giving my what the objective was, which was to communicate to a partner that business is happening. I think as soon as you see that image in front of you, do not overanalyze or think about what your reaction is. Just take in what you're seeing. And what I was seeing was shocking enough for me to react accordingly. I might have for one or two takes played around, but for the one or two takes where I played around, I kind of what you can do is either substitute the person you're seeing with someone else who means a lot to you, or you can um, imagine a different scenario where something in your life was deeply shocking and you react to that stimulus. If what's in front of you is not shocking enough and you need to get a reaction. So these are like it's a little bit of a tool, right? As far as I remember, I don't think I needed to do that. The image of what was on set was I think enough for me. If I might have played around, that's what I might have done. I don't think I did though. But this is what they teach you in the method, I think.
I
I'm
want to
not a good
ask.
actor. I just sometimes it's interesting to think about it.
Yeah, we read that you went to Tish, and we were actually figuring out whether we should ask like what was your favorite acting method? Was it Stanislavski? Was it method? Like what was the kind that you like? But we're not
I
gonna
did
go
method
into.
acting for 2 years. So, I mean, I've learned what the system is like. I don't necessarily use all of it when I'm on set because it's meant to be a toolbox and an emergency kit. It's not meant to be like this is the way because life has no rules. And acting has no rules.
What is the most sort of helpful way, especially when you're navigating acting in Bollywood? How different, firstly, have you found it from a lot of the training that you received when you were studying?
It's not that different actually. The only thing is that we would see in terms of what you're performing in, what tends to happen is in a lot of these OTT shows and the directors I've worked with, the style tends to be a bit more naturalistic. Now you can tone it up, tone it down, +2, -2, but it won't be +10. So we're not doing right now. I've not done a mainstream commercial masala film, right? So my approach to that film will be different from what I've done in film school. What I've done in film school tends to be find the reality of the scene, find the reality of yourself, which I've applied to everything I've done, and it's worked because that's what is required. So I think so far it's been great. I feel like nothing trumps just going on set and doing it and finding your way and finding your instinct. And I'd say the only difference is like in terms of training there and coming back is that the scenes we used to do were all from American plays. And American plays have a different when people speak, the language has a different, obviously it's English, but the language has a different cultural and social connotation when you speak, right? Um, Sarcasm is different, subtext is different, pauses are different because it's a different culture. So you have to understand what you're ingraining in you and then what how it's different in India. So if you come with that understanding, I think you'll be okay, but it does take time.
Can I ask, you've now been in four major projects and they've all been OTT streaming platform projects. Firstly, I want to ask, do you get recognized when you go out?
Yes.
And I want to ask, what does that feel like in the sense that has there been a moment where you're like, all right, shit, like I've arrived for your parents too? Like, okay, Vihaan is being seen in places, or were they like, acha, ye to abhi matlab, there's a long way to go?
Yeah, no. I think it's a slow build because with each project, there's different things that happen, and there's different demographics you can tap into. Um, I think I started getting recognized a couple of 1 or 2 years ago. It's become more normal for me now, like a part of my life. Obviously, it doesn't. There's no like jump from like I've arrived to not arrive to arrive, but definitely when things release, there's more of a buzz and you notice like more interaction. Um, I do feel there's a long way to go. So I never feel like not never. I rarely ever feel like, huh, yeah, that's good. It's always like, okay, cool, this is part of it. But I know where I'm going. And where I'm going is way bigger than where I am right now. And I'm happy to be and I'm grateful to be where I am right now. But it doesn't feel like मैं पहुंच चुका हूं.
Hmm. But okay, that takes us to the next question. Who are creatives that you look at across the world right now? So when I say creatives, I don't necessarily mean actors. We are talking anyone who is in like the music, the arts, who is creative out there, who you look at and you're like, this is the thing I want to be.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of who I'd like to work with.
No, who you'd like to be in terms of what
Like
they
to
stand
be.
for.
Oh, I think Robert Pattinson has a great um, knack for choosing the most versatile things in what he does. So if you look at his filmography, I mean, he started with Twilight, and then he went to Harry Potter, and after all those, he did a great job in all these massive films. He's begun to carve out a path for himself, which involves being very experimental and very risky and daring with what he does. You see his filmography, with Lighthouse and Good Time, and then of course, he was in a Nolan film. That I mean, obviously he was Batman. So the courage and the versatility is something I admire. I think there's hundreds of people in India that I absolutely love and respect and look up to, and I cannot possibly name all of them, from directors to actors to photographers to cinematographers. So in a short answer, I would say Robert Pattinson, but there's Sanjay Leela Bhansali, Zoya Akhtar, you Karan Johar. There is these fantastic actors around us. You have the big ones like Shah Rukh sir and Salman sir and Amir sir and
Wait, we're going to put you on the spot then and ask you, tell us a script that you'd love to act. And by that, I mean, you could even tell us like a book from the bookshelf behind you, that you would love to act out and who you'd want as the director for it. Co-stars too. You can tell us the whole thing.
no, I have not planned it out so specifically because these plans rarely ever work out. I tend to be open to what the universe gives me, but I do want to do a biopic. I've been saying this for a very, very long time. I want to do a biopic and find a character from our history in India and
You
really narrate.
don't have anyone sort of picked out in your head right now.
I would say Nehru, but I know there are millions and millions of people that have made this country what it is, and I want to be able to explore that and understand these people's lives and the sacrifices they've even made for this country. Um, I am talking about a political sort of setup. I am talking about maybe even a military sort of setup. So I think I really want to delve into that and really experience what it's like to be someone who's lived before.
Hmm. And who would direct it? You haven't said. You haven't, in fact, named co-actors. You haven't. It's a blank slate.
Co-actors: Shah Rukh Khan sir, Deepika Padukone, me. I think we're set.
And director?
I'm not gonna name anyone. I think I've worked with fantastic people and I will work with fantastic people, but I don't want to say one and exclude the possibility of anyone who might be the right fit.
I want to ask. So, Control in particular was a very dystopian film in the world that it was presenting. And I just want to ask. it's quite, I mean, even the way in which the script played out, it was different from other films in that it was a film that dared to be pessimistic, I felt. In the way
Yeah.
it played out, you don't, at least in Bollywood, get too many films like that that are that pessimistic in the techno world sort of sense,
Yeah.
the techno negativist, I guess. But I just want to ask you, um, how much of that do you buy into in terms of that telling of the world? And I say this to take us back to that first question where you as an actor yourself are struggling with, how should I project myself? How should I not?
By buy into, you mean the pessimism and the outlook of the film?
Yeah.
Um, I definitely have thought that way, and sometimes I do think that way. So I definitely buy into it. I do see it as a reality, a possible reality. But the whole thing about life is that you have to you have to take the optimistic route. I've lived a long time being a pessimist, and it does no good to yourself and your body. Not that it won't be right. We don't know what's going to be right. You might be bang on, or you might be completely wrong. But I would, if I had a choice, and it is a choice, I would rather take the optimistic route. That being said, films like this are important to be made because an acting teacher of mine once said, art is meant to disturb the comforted and comfort the disturbed. So if you do see the world that way, you want to be able to communicate it to people. And people who feel that way will feel seen. And they're like, that's what I've been thinking. That's it. That's exactly what I've been saying. And people who don't see it that way, they say, oh my God, can it be this way? And
Hmm.
what it's going to do is it's going to implant itself in the zeitgeist and make people think more and open themselves up more and be open to a change and be open to a discussion. That's what's important. But personally, I've at least tried to be a bit more optimistic. God knows it's difficult.
Okay, Vihan, we're going to head into a rapid fire, but before we do, I do want to ask you one last question. Your advice to someone who's about 5 years behind you in the industry, who's starting out, who's looking at the list of sort of films and shows you've been a part of, looking at the platforms you work with, because today Netflix is the dream, right? What would your advice be to them?
Have unshakable belief in yourself, uh, and understand there will be ups and downs, and just literally just keep going. Make sure you're putting your 110%. Make sure your craft is impeccable, and know yourself and know who you are, what you bring to the table, and what you're selling from a business standpoint.
Has working on your sense of belief in yourself been, I mean, so many will say it's a lifelong process,
100%.
right? And that's what I want to ask you. Were you, in a sense, born with it? Did everyone in your family go, we support you fully in this very daring endeavor you're going on?
Yeah. So, I mean, luckily, my mom and dad, they always thought I'll not at some point stop saying I want to be an actor and be a proper business person. But I think to a certain extent, they felt that if a child has been saying this for years and he truly loves it, let him take a shot. So at least if he fails, he knows it's not for him, as opposed to living with the doubt that this was always for me and I did something else. So they were surprisingly quite, after a while, zen about it. They were like, okay, as long as you make money, we're okay. Um, and so then they allowed me. My dad, in fact, once said, okay, if you're fine, if you want to go to acting school, make sure you go to the best acting school you can, and make sure you give it your all. If you're gonna go, like, give it 100%. Don't just, be half-half. My mom used to take Gita classes, and after a while, she was concerned, but then she realized that it's someone's calling, it's someone's calling. You can't stop them. You can only make it easier for them. So they were okay with that. It has been difficult, I will say. It's not that they had their doubts and didn't have my doubts about acting. There are those moments, but then you just pick yourself up, brush it off, and keep going. I think that's the attitude you need to have.
Can I ask you lastly, do you have something you do in those moments when you're feeling like, the belief's a little rough? Do you have, like, they say develop rituals for yourself? Is that
Yeah.
something you've done?
No, in general, in life, when I definitely have a couple of hard times, I do try to meditate. Um, Obviously, I don't do it for hours. I tend to try it like 15 minutes just to calm my mind. But I tend to look at stuff that it has given me, that life has given me. I tend to look at what the negative sides of getting what I want would be.
Hmm.
It would be like, oh, I couldn't do this if I had that. So why don't I be grateful for what I have right now? And I look at the positives of what I have right now. And it's just a mind exercise. Obviously, I rant to whoever will listen to me, my friends, and they provide support and they're very normal things. But you need to do what you need to do to get out of it after at least a day or two, and then just get moving because life doesn't
Okay,
stop.
let's head into the rapid fire now.
Yeah.
And I feel like the next few questions will lift what has been quite a serious conversation. Thank you for sort of like going with us on how serious those questions got.
I'm
But
sorry for being so serious.
no,
I
it's
can,
important. These are
yeah.
not things we talk about enough, I feel like, in our interviews. You know what I mean? The whole story, what it's like to be an actor, because we see you after the success. We're talking to you post the
Yeah.
success.
Yeah. And that happens like once in a year or once in 2 years.
Hmm.
What am I doing in the rest of the time? You have no idea. I'm like figuring out everything, So yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, let's go into the. If you're ready, should we go into the rapid fire?
Let's do that.
Okay. The reason I'm looking here, by the way, is because it's rapid fire. So we've got pre-written
That's okay.
questions out for you. And I want to make sure that you and I are both ready. All right, should we go?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. All right. Question number one. One actor that you'd love to share the screen with. We tried to get this out of you earlier. Go ahead.
I've said Shah Rukh Khan so before, but you know what? I will go with Deepak Dobriyal. I have been wowed by him in everything he does. And recently in Sector 36, 36, 38,
Mm-hmm.
was it- forgot the number, but fantastic film. And the way and Vikrant was just mind blowing. Uh, and Deepak sir was also like he had this rawness that in his performance and just this flow state, and even in his silences and his looks, and I was like, this is a man who has understood himself very well.
Your go-to thing to do when you're upset.
Um, Play a video game, uh, channel and block out the noise, go to the gym, clean my room, take a shower, rant on the phone, meditate if all that doesn't work.
Who do you rant to?
My friends.
Okay, your favorite video game.
I play this game. Okay, so I'm a huge gamer, and I've been playing games since I was a young child. I've played every single. I have like I cannot begin. Got League of Legends, World of Warcraft, Counter Strike, Call of Duty, PUBG, Fortnite for a bit, Diablo, Myth, Dungeon Keeper. I've played everything, but right now, Dota. But right now, I'm playing this game on my phone called Brawl Stars, and I'm actually like top 50 in India, which I don't know is an achievement or something I should be embarrassed about, but it is what it is.
Is that a sign of you having developed skill while playing it? A or B, the amount of time you've spent while doing it, or both?
Both.
All right, fair. You didn't say that when we were asking a little earlier, dubbing a voice for a video game is not something that's on your list, something you want to do.
No, I would love to actually. I don't think I've ever been presented with that opportunity, but I would love to.
Okay, cool. Because we didn't talk about that
Also,
earlier.
I wonder how many locally produced massive Indian video games there are. There's
Hmm.
4G and there's a bunch of others, but how do these games really permeate the market? I'm not sure. But I think it is an upcoming industry. I mean, it's already a huge industry, but I
Mm-hmm.
feel like it might be an upcoming industry. Maybe I don't know, and I would love, love, love to be a part of it.
Very cool. Okay, your go-to comfort food.
Comfort food,
Mm-hmm.
ramen,
Sorry, did you say
ramen,
rum?
ramen.
Oh, ramen. I heard rum. I was like,
No,
okay,
no.
rum would be perfectly fine too, but ramen is a
That's
lot.
also perfect. No judgment, but for me, it is ramen and vada pav. I order vada pav on every set I'm at as a snack. It's not the healthiest thing to do, I know, but I friggin' love my vada pav. I'm sorry, and my ramen.
Have you been to Japan to eat the ramen there?
I've not been to Japan. It's on my list, but I've been to Singapore.
Which has good ramen, but sure. A song that you currently have on repeat.
Sorry.
A song that you have on repeat that you can't get over yet.
Uh, there's this song called "Don't Look Down" by Fink, which was on
Hmm.
my list that I've been listening to.
And that's what you just pull up. Okay. What's a movie that you watched recently? It can be a show also that has stayed with you.
Um, I haven't, because I've been post-release, I haven't had the time to necessarily watch something. I feel so on the spot right now. I'm panicking. Um,
Pressure
I
can be
can't
something. All
remember
right,
what.
let's remove the word recently and say the last film. That can be in the last few years too.
It was Sector 36.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
and yeah,
Wow.
because I watched it like two months ago and it was very good. I'm a huge true crime person, so this was obviously very striking. But I feel like it was more than just shock value. It was a well-rounded film about, so it's more so about the human existence. It wasn't just about this is what happened and this is the horrible person who did it. It was more layered, and that's what I really appreciated.
Hmm. It's interesting though, when I asked you something you wanted to see come alive, you didn't say true crime.
Come alive.
Yeah, when we talked about a project you'd like to make happen.
Yeah, I would love to do that. I think biopics would also tie into that. I just don't know if I don't know, right? Like I know, I just know the emotional commitment needed to be in the mind of a criminal and a person, a horrible person, for that period of time. And I'm just very aware of how deep I go with things and what my life would be like for about 100 days. But that being said, I'm not pushing it. I'm happy to. And I also feel like I don't know if there are that many scripts about people doing horrible things close to my age. I suspect might be mistaken that it happens more as you push into the
Yeah, in your 30s, lots of serial. I get your point.
30s, 40s,
Yeah, yeah.
people who've seen a bit of life and then make decisions based on that. And I think I would like to lean into the fact that I am young and life can be beautiful and there is romance and there is love and I'm happy to do whatever, but I'm saying that there tends to be a average age for things.
Yeah, yeah.
Not to
That's
say
an
that like
interesting observation that I don't think I realized till now. That yeah, most perpetrators do happen to be, if you are going to portray that. Okay, we're gonna get, and we're also not keeping the pace that a rapid fire needs at all, which is fine. But
I'm just a talker. You need a right. You need to like put me on a leash and like
unfortunately, on another screen there are no leashes.
stop my train of thought because I will keep talking.
Can I ask you? So you've already kind of done this, but Ananya Panday in one word. I'm gonna take you through a few.
Highly intelligent,
Prajakta Kohli in one word.
incredibly hardworking, and great at managing her time.
Vikramaditya Motwane in one word.
Visionary. A man of few words also.
Okay, all right. These are the opposite of you, is essentially what you're saying. What is your most used emoji? If you check up your emojis and just
Can I
see,
look into
yeah,
it
of
now?
course, please.
Let me send someone a message. Uh, it is this.
Oh, the
This.
hands doing the heart.
Yeah.
Okay, a hidden talent that we don't know about,
I can ride horses, but
but
also
we know about that. Call me Way.
no, actually, we didn't shoot it. I wasn't properly like certified. It was more of a thing, but like for an upcoming show I'm doing, the Royals, I've had to properly ride and be allowed to like take off with a horse on my own and stuff like that. So it'll happen later. But yes, okay, I guess I'm top 50 in India in Brawl Stars.
We
That
did. We already covered that too. You're just repeating stuff we already know.
I used to be very good at chess when I was younger, and I still am, but I used to win tournaments and stuff when I was younger, but never like at an international level or anything.
Okay, we'll take this. We'll settle with it.
I'm also
Can you
very good
tell
at art
me?
and painting.
Did you say and painting?
Painting, yeah.
What kind of painting?
Like any painting. Can I let me show you? I
Yes,
have
please.
something to show you. Like I made this during lockdown.
Oh,
And
that's what have you used? Have you used oil paint or acrylic?
acrylic, but you can't really see the colors that well, but
No,
I
you
think
can.
there's a lot of
Behind
brightness and fading and stuff like that that's happening.
you can see the sky. That's where all the color is.
Yeah,
It's
that's
gorgeous.
I like painting. I'm not like professional level, but I can hold my own.
No one is, yeah, that's incredible. Can I ask you, you kind of touched on this right now, your next projects?
Yeah, there's this show that I shot called The Royals, which was announced a month ago. It's on Netflix. It's got a fantastic cast, and that should be out next year sometime. I don't know. I have no idea.
And that's the one that you've learned horse riding for.
Yes.
And lastly, if we could ask you, you've already told us about a show that you want to sort of one day make happen.
Yes.
You've already sort of told us that okay, these are the actors I'd want to work with, but you haven't told us who'd make the music. And I ask you that because circling back to earlier, music and musicians, and you told us a song that you like, but tell us who'd make the music.
I really admire Amit Trivedi. Um, I'll have to, I mean, that's my answer for now, but there's so many incredible musicians that, I mean, I could say A.R. Rahman because I think that's everyone's dream. Uh, I could say a million names. I'm so confused by this question. I don't know how to pick
Hmm.
uh, who's going to make the music. But
I
yeah,
ask because you've also worked in projects with great soundtracks so far.
oh, 100%. Rekha Bharadwaj and SAQ was quite possibly one of the best music I've ever heard. Um, in any project I've been in ever. So I also love Ulfat, and that's by Sneha and a bunch of other. And I mean, it's also you have to separate the lyricist from
Right.
music and the scoring and all that. So there's a lot of things that come together. But I've given you a bunch of names, and I hope
Yeah.
that's
You know, so name salad. Last two questions for you. Your absolute favorite thing about working in Bollywood as a film industry?
that everyone knows everyone and everyone's friends for the most part.
And the thing you wish you could change?
About Bollywood,
Yeah. Or working in the Indian film industry in general.
um, I would just, I think maybe censorship. Yeah.
Elaborate?
Well, in the terms of sometimes what I hear with a lot of projects is we can't show this because it's do this, or we can't say that because of this reaction, or even though the reaction might not happen or has happened in the past, there is a censorship of certain ideas at the script stage itself, where there might be a limit to expression. And now there's a discourse whether it's important to uphold certain morals in society versus the right to express something. So I mean that's a whole other discussion, but I would say in one word censorship. I would like to maybe be a bit more easy on,
I
but
hope you're
for a good reason. Censor board, I love you. Thank you for keeping our country safe.
I
Best
hope
of
your biopic when it comes out gets, when it does happen is because it's if it's going to be a historical biopic, that'll be a
yes, then it's important
point
to
of
be true to
concern.
what was. Yes.
Vihaan, thank you for taking out the time to speak to us.
Thank you for taking out the time to speak to me. This was lovely.
Bye bye. See you.
Bye bye.
Bye.